disappointing, it's hurtful, but you hurting her. I'm mad at the fact that my granddaughter is suffering. Just slow down when women do stuff like this to men. And there's women out here that wish anybody would step up and offer some kind of support.
And my brother never got over that. He never recovered from that. But whatever it was, I don't know the connection of what he looked up to Rickey. He never recovered from that.
Now, what could possibly make someone who portrays himself as such a family man get banned from seeing his own granddaughter? I mean, seriously, what kind of skeleton-filled closet are we dealing with here?
It's disappointing, it's hurtful, but you hurting her. I'm mad at the fact that my granddaughter is suffering.
Could it be his complicated relationship with his late son, Brandon? Or maybe, and this is where it gets messy, how he handled Brandon's death. Because Chili, people are saying he made everything about himself.
Pray for our family. My son, Brandon Smiley, has passed away this morning. I'm about to go get on a flight and try to get to Birmingham.
And wait until you hear this bombshell. His own niece is pointing fingers at him for her brother's death. The family drama is getting thick.
And my brother never got over that. He never recovered from that. But whatever it was, I don't know the connection of what he looked up to Rickey. He never recovered from that.
Let me spill all the tea because there's so much more to this story than what Rickey wants us to believe. After Brandon Smiley's heartbreaking death, his widow dropped a bomb that had everyone's jaws on the floor. She banned Rickey from seeing his granddaughter Storm. Now let that sink in for a minute. While everyone was watching Rickey play the role of devoted grandfather on social media, something much darker was brewing behind the scenes. And honey, it gets even more interesting. If Rickey was truly the loving family man he claims to be, why would Storm's mother cut him off completely? What went so terribly wrong that she'd take such drastic measures? Last May, Rickey took to YouTube, because where else do you air your dirty laundry, and announced he was filing for grandparents' rights to see Storm. Can you believe he actually said, "We on punishment because we file for grandparents' rights"? The way he put it was heartbreaking though, saying, the baby really suffering because keeping her away from a good family is just insane. Now, this man has almost 4 million followers on Instagram, and he's out here begging for just 2 weekends a month with his grandbaby. Hell, we'll take one, he pleaded, the desperation in his voice when he said, "You get so mad you won't let us see her again? I don't get it. Life is something else, man." It just hits different. What really tugs at the heartstrings is how Rickey described his connection with little Storm after Brandon's tragic passing from that suspected drug overdose. During his appearance on the Tamron Hall show, he shared this gut-wrenching moment that would make anyone tear up. After the funeral, when he was about to leave for the repast, something unprecedented happened with Storm. Picture this, his precious grandbaby, who'd never had separation anxiety before, suddenly couldn't bear to let him go. "No," she said, breaking everyone's heart. And what Rickey did next? Oh, it's enough to make you weep. He took her to a playground, creating this beautiful, peaceful moment amidst all the pain. The way he described it just hits you right in the feels. To have that day where I'm actually pushing her on a swing, I could hear the swing squeak, I can hear the birds chirping, the sun was setting, it was cool that day and it was quiet. And then he added something that would make anyone's eyes water. At the end of the day where you just buried your son, which is her dad, to push her on a swing like that, I just think it was God just giving me a sense of peace and comfort. But Chili, let's talk about how Rickey handled Brandon's passing, because this is where things get messy.
I hate to announce this, just want to give it to you before you hear it in the streets. My son, Brandon Smiley, passed away this morning.
When Brandon left this world at just 32 years old, it shocked absolutely everyone. There weren't any warning signs, nothing. Just hours before, he was supposed to be in church with his grandmother, but suddenly stopped answering her calls. The way it all unfolded is heartbreaking. A friend found him unresponsive at home and called for help immediately. Despite rushing him to the hospital, doctors couldn't save him. Within an hour, he was gone. The mystery deepened when the autopsy couldn't pinpoint exactly what happened. Though they ruled out foul play, it left everyone with more questions than answers. Rickey's initial social media posts were raw with pain. Never in my life have I felt this kind of pain and grief, and I don't see how people survive this. He begged for space, asking friends and family to give him time to process everything. But honey, here's where people started raising eyebrows. Within days, Rickey's social media posts took a turn that left people scratching their heads. He started posting about faith, writing things like, "God will give you double for your trouble, even in your darkest hour, God is still good." And while some found his faith inspiring, others were, let's just say, concerned about how quickly he bounced back to social media. Now get this, just 2 days after losing his son, he was back at work and posting online. He even shared a meme about Taco Bell wings. I mean, really? But what really got people talking was when he posted that video saying, "I lost my oldest son, Brandon Smiley, this morning. I'm okay, but please pray for my son's mother, Brenda, his siblings, and his daughter, Storm."
Pray for our family. My son, Brandon Smiley, has passed away this morning. I'm about to go get on a flight and try to get to Birmingham.
Did you catch that? He basically said, "Pray for everyone but me." Who does that? People were side-eyeing him hard, questioning if this was genuine grief or just something else entirely. Then Rickey started talking about being the best father he could be. But honey, let me tell you about what was really going on behind those words. Reports suggest their relationship was anything but perfect. Rickey's tough love parenting style, chilly, it was more like a constant battle between father and son. Sources say Rickey was incredibly strict, and he and Brandon were always butting heads, even when Brandon was younger. And here's the real tea. Some reports claim Rickey cut Brandon off financially and didn't support his career. Can you believe that? His own son was reportedly living in a rough part of town while Rickey was living large as a celebrity. But wait, because this pattern of tough love didn't stop with Brandon. Remember that mess in 2021? When Rickey went on that public rant about a family member refusing to cut their dreadlocks for what he claimed was a six-figure job opportunity.
Hooked up a family member with a job that could potentially pay him 6 figures if he hustled. Talk to people, I need you to go to the barbershop and get your hair cut and go ahead and get your fresh start, because one thing about dreadlocks, they can grow back. Go down there with a nice, fresh, clean, neat look. And because you represent me.
The way this whole thing blew up on social media was wild. People were coming for Rickey left and right. One person hit the nail on the head when they said, the fact that he's more upset with the relative for not cutting his beautiful, unapologetically black dreads instead of getting upset that we live in a world that would try to take away from your blackness. And the comments just kept coming. Someone else pointed out, oh, the job didn't even require him to cut his dreads. Rickey did. Another person hit him with, you called the family of this family member the Rat Pack and devalued him over having locks. You are part of the problem. But here's where this story takes a devastating turn that'll break your heart. Not long after this drama, Rickey's nephew died by suicide, reportedly overdosing on pills. His sister took to Facebook and, Lord have mercy, she directly pointed the finger at Rickey. According to her, Rickey's sky-high expectations and constant criticism weighed so heavily on her brother, who just wanted his uncle's approval.
And my brother never got over that. He never recovered from that. But whatever it was, I don't know the connection of what he looked up so to Rickey. He never recovered from that.
The way Rickey handled this? Chilly, he posted a video defending himself, complete with testimonials from other men he'd successfully mentored. But what really had people's blood boiling was when he shared private messages between him and his nephew from right before the tragedy. Who does that? And honey, if you think that's all the tea, hold on to your seats because there's more. Let me tell you about comedian Steve Brown's story. It'll have your jaw on the floor. Steve was loyal to Rickey early in his comedy career, even working as his opening act. Poor thing put all his faith in Rickey to help him climb that comedy ladder.
For sure, behind this guy, me being loyal to him and me depending on him to get me shows because I was his opener, I ended up homeless with me and my oldest son.
But what happened next? Steve says he ended up homeless with his young son. According to him, all his gigs suddenly disappeared, and Rickey? He couldn't care less about what happened to them. But wait, it gets worse. Steve claims Rickey straight up stole one of his original comedy bits and used it in a special. Can you imagine having your creative work snatched away like that?
Sometimes you have people that they just don't care, you know, and they'll play the victim and have their own side of the story. But, you know, as time goes on, you grow up and you realize what happened and you learn from it.
And baby, Steve isn't the only one with stories to tell. Former co-workers have come forward saying working with Rickey was absolutely miserable. They're talking about a toxic work environment where disrespect was just business as usual. Now, speaking of controversy, let me tell you about a joke on Rickey's radio show that crossed all kinds of lines. This wasn't just a bad joke, it was offensive on a whole new level, targeting dark-skinned women and playing into harmful stereotypes.
It has to deal with dark-skinned black women, and they seem to always be the butt of jokes.
For those who might not understand why this was so problematic, colorism is this deeply rooted issue in communities of color that comes from colonialism and racism. It's about favoring lighter skin tones, and Rickey's joke? It hit a nerve that was already raw and painful. And when he tried to make light of it by joking about his own darker skin tone, oh honey, that backfired spectacularly. Critics called him out for internalized bias, saying it just showed how deep these prejudices run, even in someone who experiences them firsthand. Then, as if things couldn't get more controversial, Rickey's own son dropped a bombshell by declaring he could never date black women. The scandals just kept piling up. But wait until you hear about his ex-girlfriend's open letter. It's the kind of tea that'll have you gasping. She met Rickey back in April 2014 at his Atlanta radio station, thinking she'd found this humble, charming man. But what she describes next is absolutely shocking. After moving in with him just months after they started dating, she says she saw a completely different side of him, one that was manipulative and disrespectful. By December of that same year, she was out of there, citing his erratic and controlling behavior. She tells this absolutely wild story about an incident in April 2016. After not hearing from Rickey as planned, she went to his apartment only to be told to leave because he had company. When she confronted him, things got physical. She admitted to slapping him in frustration and called the police. But what's truly disturbing? She claims he later referred to the incident as a turn-on. The drama continues with accusations of him spreading negative rumors about her and showing paranoid behavior, like accusing her of cheating just because she had him on speakerphone while getting dressed. What's crystal clear is the massive gap between Rickey's public image as this philanthropist and community leader and what people close to him describe. While he's out there presenting himself as this pillar of integrity, those who've been in his inner circle paint a very different picture. So when we circle back to him being banned from seeing his granddaughter Storm, maybe it's not so surprising after all. This story of Rickey Smiley shows us that sometimes what we see on the surface is just the tip of a very complicated iceberg. There's often more lurking beneath that perfect public image, and in Rickey's case, it seems like those waters run deep and dark. Anyway, that's all the tea I have for today, folks. And trust me, this is one story that'll have people talking for a long time to come.